Good afternoon, good morning or good night or whenever you see this. It's on the subject of human rights, which there ought to be at least to be able to have a reasonable open conversation. What is a human right? What is the most fundamental thing that makes us human? Before you can say what a human right is, you ought to at least define what it is that makes us human. Because unless you do that, you don't know really. A human right is basically a vague idea and subjective depending on one's culture, one's perspective, one's education or one's custom. What is a right to some is illegal to others. What is a custom to some is an anathema to others. Some may declare that is their right to have 4 wives. Others might find that it's against the law. Some people think it's a right to have slaves or very cheap labour. Others think that's against human rights. What is a human right? What is right for human? It is what makes humans unique within the animal kingdom and maybe in the universe. We don't really know. What makes humans unique is the ability to question anything and everything. See, questions are a thing that's developed from instinct. Way back, millions of years ago, before primates became Homo sapien or began to make tools and solve problems, something happened. I'm not quite sure, but something happened that changed the evolutionary process, and what went from instinct, which all animals have, and what went from the socializing nature of compassion for members of their own species, which many mammals have. That's why we get on with cats and dogs and other animals. We have that in common with all animals, with all to some degree. But there's something happened, and it was instinct turned into experiential nature, which gave us a memory that then accumulated an ability to intuit a differential, or intuit a new idea. The spark. It's that spark what says, well, we can do this better, or I don't agree with that, and I can reason why I don't agree with that. Now, you don't have to agree with someone's reasoning, but they have the right to reason, because they have the right to question, because it may be their intuition which is causing them to question. Because intuition is a natural survival imperative. But what is happening, strangely enough, in universities in particular, which should be very alarming for anyone who's really interested in the nature of humans and their rights, is that there are many people in Western universities in particular who are against being questioned about the knowledge or intelligence they're purporting to have on a various number of subjects. Climate change being one. The nature of homosexuality is another one. Gender fluidity is something else. The nature of the different types of cultures. Are they all equal? Equal at what? What does it mean? Can't we question anything? Otherwise someone says, no, you can't question me. Why not? If it hadn't been for people questioning the previous idea or the other idea or the challenging the idea, humans, well, there wouldn't be no humans. You can't be human and not question. What that questioning leads to depends on your education, on your culture, on your custom of thinking, how emotionally you are attached to an ideal. If you're stuck and emotionally attached to an ideal, which revolves around how comfortable you feel within a situation, if you're totally emotionally attached to that and you get emotionally disturbed because someone might question it, so it disturbs your paradigm, then maybe those in that position have got a serious problem to ask themselves, am I being human? Am I denying myself my own human rights by denying the other person the right to question me or question my perspective? Climate change is a big one because basically politicians and media and all sorts of people have basically misled and misinformed the public and misinformed the debate, and they've attacked people for questioning what always has been a totally illogical idea that humans are somehow going to change the climate when the climate's changed naturally anyway. And the thing about that is we're all born into this time-space paradigm that we exist through, so we adapt within to that. You can't predicate our livelihood and living styles according to what may happen with the weather 20, 30, 50 years from now. You can't do that. You can't adjust your living standards now according to what the weather might be 50 years from now or 40 years from now. It doesn't make sense. But because we can't question that, or because otherwise we get hounded and get called all names, because we question that, we are attacked. Our human rights to question have been removed, or tried to be removed, by the authorities and the politicians and universities and all these people now within the corporate sector who are trying to control the minds of the masses so then they can control them for their own corporate uses. That's what all this mind control is all about. That's why they're taking away the actual right to be human, which is right to question everything, because the people in authority in Western countries in particular these days do not like their authority being questioned, because their authority is not based on knowledge or intelligence, but basically just on idealistic politics that suits them from a purely materialistic point of view, and there's hardly any spiritual values or moral values within the nature of these paradigms that they are trying to create and take away the human right to question. Human intuition is the most valuable thing in the universe, and yet they're condemning those with it. In the practical sense, they're condemning those with all sorts of names as outsiders and castigating them. It's because they're afraid of the real human right to question. Once you stop questioning anything and you're unable to question your own values, you've given away all your rights to be called human. You look like a human, you walk like a human, but if you're just a clone, a copy of what someone's programmed into you, then you're denying your own humanity within yourself and becoming part of another system which is inhumane in itself. Once you stop questioning, you may as well be a cow. Thank you. This is E.T. trying to get through somehow.